There's quite a bit of buzz currently that Apple is reportedly developing a new, more affordable MacBook model, that's their laptop line, powered by the A18 Pro chip, which is the same chip used on the iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 16 Pro Max. This would mark the first time a MacBook uses an A-series chip typically designed for iPhones instead of the M-series chips found in the current MacBook Air and MacBook Pro models. The A18 Pro features a 6-core CPU with 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, and a 6-core GPU with hardware-accelerated ray tracing and mesh shading support. It also includes a 16-core neural engine capable of 35 trillion operations a second. That's just a little below the 40 trillion operations a second that Microsoft demands for a Copilot-branded PC. The single-core CPU performance is actually pretty close to the M4 chip, which is the current MacBook chip. The multi-core performance does trail a bit, but it's comparable to, say, an M1 chip found in the 2020 MacBook Air, which I have used for a while, the 2020 version, and it's really pretty good. It's good for most things. I do video editing and stuff on it, so, it's no slouch. The A18 Pro chip does outperform the M1 in graphics tasks, so it should be more than suitable for everyday things like web browsing, office work, and, content consumption. As far as we can tell, and these are all sort of, guesses from industry insiders, this new MacBook is expected to feature a 13-inch display, similar in size to the current 13.6-inch MacBook Air, that might reuse the chassis of the M1 MacBook Air or a similar design to keep costs down. Potential color options are silver, pink, blue, yellow. I don't know how they get that from, but that's, so I guess I'm making it sort of happy and, colorful, interesting to younger consumers, I guess. There's some speculation it could revive the 12-inch MacBook form factor, which people seem to like. I don't quite get that. 13 inches small enough for me, but current reporting does lean towards a 13-inch display to appeal to a broader audience. Now, there are some limitations with this approach. That the A18 Pro supports a USB 3.2 Gen 2 controller at 10 gigabits a second, but lacks Thunderbolt support, meaning this proposed MacBook would likely have USB-C ports only, and maybe limited to a single USB-C port similar to the 2015 to 2017 12-inch MacBooks, which is, I think, a bit of a bummer. But for a small, cheap, portable device, it might be acceptable. It's unlikely to support more than one external display or exceed 8 gigabytes of unified memory in its base configuration, which would be a bit of a step back as well, I think, although it's thought that a 16 gig option is possible. MagSafe 3 would be expected to be included for charging, consistent with, recent MacBook designs. The pricing and positioning is interesting. It's obviously going to be, positioned as a budget-friendly option. And I've seen price estimates anywhere from $599 to $899. I think the lower would be obviously much better for, students and young people, people on a budget. The stuff I buy, the Apple stuff I buy is invariably used. I don't buy new Apple equipment. It's too expensive for me personally. But I do have Apple equipment. I have an iPhone 13. I have the MacBook Air, and I have an iPad. These are all used items that I just can't afford the new ones. But something like that, I'd be inclined to buy that. You can currently get an M1 MacBook Air still through Walmart, which is about $600, but this would be a more, modern device, presumably supported for a few more years. So, it's an interesting concept. Apple aims to supposedly sell about 5 to 7 million units in 2026, and that seems like they're, anticipating a good demand for the product. It's supposed to be maybe the first half of 2026 we'll see this. Some of the evidence was found for this is it shows up identified as a Mac 17,1, which is found in Apple's back-end code related to Apple Intelligence. So that's, people are putting the two and two together and coming up with this. It should run Mac OS, not a light version, because the A18 Pro is, perfectly capable of handling that. It will support Apple Intelligence, which is, I don't know how exciting that is. It would supposedly also support locally running LLMs like the M1 can, so does that. I mean, it's probably going to lack more advanced features like center stage camera and that kind of thing, and it may have, just dual speakers instead of the quad speaker setup in the M4 MacBook Air. So, it's thought they're going to use that A18 Pro chip. I mean, they might use a newer one, the A19 Pro, which should be in the iPhone 17 Pro models this September. But, it makes sense to, if they have some of the older chips left over, I suppose it makes sense to use those. It might be called a MacBook SE or just simply a MacBook to distinguish it from the Air and the Pro lines. But we'll see. I think the A-series chip will be fine. I mean, based on what I've read, it looks like the performance is perfectly good. It's, in single core, it's not that far behind the M4. In multi-core, it trails back, but the graphics performance is a good bit faster than the M1, the older chip. So, seems like it'd be perfectly usable. The reports come from, credible sources like Ming-Chi Kuo, who's a supply chain analyst, Mac Rumors, Apple Insider, and 95Mac. And the back-end code evidence adds some credibility to all that. Sort of mixed reaction online. I think it's probably not a bad idea. I mean, if Apple wants more people to buy Apple products, hey, they can sell it cheaper and it's perfectly usable. Why not? So that's another video in the can. If you found this informative or interesting, please consider liking and subscribing down below. And remember, be excellent to each other.